understand that. Thank you for coming out. I do want to make some clarifications. The signs and the stuff that we have, there is a rule for the commission that we don't have signs in the commission room, and the reason that we have that, no, the reason that we have that is because a long time ago, people had signs here and people got poked in the face with the signs and some people couldn't see. So I just ask you respectfully, keep those down, out of people's way. We will have order tonight that's here. You come to speak, we're willing to listen to you. But I do want you to know what I know about this situation. I was contacted earlier in the week that there's a possibility of an ICE facility coming to our county. So I reached out to the sheriff, and the sheriff said, I have no clue of what you're talking about. Reached out to the 3 mayors and talked to them. Nobody had any clue at all. I said, well, they're talking about a couple of buildings that possibly are on 109. The mayor then said, the mayor of Lebanon said, now there's a DHL that's trying to purchase those 2 buildings. Could that have been confused with DHS? So we began to check with the property assessor, the trustee, to try to find any record at all of any transfer of deeds. That's not happened. That hadn't happened as of today. We checked again. So then we kind of dismissed that. And then on Friday, we got a call from a reporter from Lookout, Tennessee. And she said that she had heard that there was one coming here. So we said, can you clarify that? And so there was some confusion about Lebanon County, Pennsylvania. She reached back out to them and they said, no, we're talking Lebanon, Tennessee as well. So we continued to look and continue to reach out to the people that were above us. Now, as you come here tonight, and this is completely fine, but the Wilson County Commission has no jurisdiction over anything that may go in the city of Lebanon. But your voice being heard is completely fine. But we said, okay, let's continue to see what we can find. So we reached out to every official that we knew to reach out to. And even as late as of today, we have no confirmation that any buildings have been purchased here in our county. There's been a speculation of several places that we've ruled out as well. The one that's had the most hits has been the one on 109. But again, our joint economic development person reached out to them. They said there are no contracts there. They have not sold it. We reached out to our register of deeds and our property assessor. Again, they found nothing there as well. Now, they could be under NDA where they can't say that, but there has been no transactions as of today. Just a while ago, I was told that yes, they're coming, and then I was told Senator Mark Fody that they said they retracted everything and they weren't coming, and he sent me an email of that. So I really do not know if they're coming or not. This body tonight can listen to your comments, but they have no vote and no say-so in that. Your wishes are important for them to hear. I think it shows by the number of people here, probably where you stand at. I will ask you to, if you don't mind, at some point move out in the hallway there because of the fire codes that I'm sure I'm probably going to hear from here in just a few minutes. But we're going to start our meeting in just a minute. We're going to start out with a prayer and then we'll go to public comment. But I want to ask you to be respectful. You have 3 minutes to talk if you talk. If somebody else has already covered what you're going to say, then please do not repeat that. Talking about the situation itself, name calling and that stuff, we do not allow here in the commission. And I want it to be a peaceful conversation for you and for our commission to hear what you have to say. I would ask that you would honor those wishes and be respectful as we listen to those that are on my list here tonight to talk. I wish I had better information for you, but all I can confirm is that no buildings have been purchased. I can't say that they're not trying to purchase any. I do not know that at all. I do know that probably for a facility of what they're talking about, it couldn't happen in the county because we have no sewer system to be able to handle something of that nature. But again, those are all speculations. And so we will start tonight as we call the meeting order. And Commissioner Hobbs, you have the prayer and the pledge for tonight. Please rise.
Commander Lee Bowley, Wilson County Emergency Management, he's going to lead us in prayer. Let's pray. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
I again will ask you to please be respectful. That is all I'm asking. Please press yes on your power record your presence at tonight's meeting. Present, one absent. This time we will do public comment period. I'll ask you to state your name and address for the record as you stand at the very beginning. And I will call Paige Cook. Sorry, Commissioner. Yes, sir.
Just so we get this right. TCA governs the rules for our speaking in public place. And I was often told that you have to substitute, you have to look at the shalls and the mays when you read this. So I want to read, if you turn to your hymnal, the TCA hymnal, chapter 844, 112. It says, "The governing body shall, for each public meeting, reserve a period for public comment to provide the public with the opportunity to comment on matters that are germane to the items on the agenda for the meeting."
You heard, Commissioner.
It also goes on to say, the governing body shall take all practical steps to ensure that opposing viewpoints are represented fairly, if any. And so my question is, and by the way, I don't run a detention facility in my district. Okay, this isn't about that. I want to make sure we abide by Tennessee law, because if we do want to do a resolution, I want to abide by the standards that they give us for proper public hearings.
We have allowed people to talk in here that was things that were not on our agenda in the past, and that's happened a few times recently. That is the public chapter that says must be germane to the agenda. It's like that because there's no sense to hear a lot of conversation about something that we're not voting on. But we have allowed people to do that in the past, and I will lean to you, Mayor, if you have a comment that you want me to avoid doing this.
Well, Commissioner Blanks is right, that's what they all said, we don't have anything on the agenda.
We can't hear you.
Sorry, we can't hear you. Can you turn on your mic?
Mayor asked me a question.
Thank you. Okay, and the meeting started, you have to talk in the mic.
The, Commissioner Blanks. We have nothing on the agenda.
May I go on? If there are opposing views in our community, I can't think of anybody that I know that wants a facility like this, but who knows? We're supposed to protect the minority.
You do?
And we did not publicly notice this problem.
It's my opinion that we will start public comment period unless my commission tells you not to do so. And so, again, I ask you to be respectful, keep your comments to yourself. If you want to talk at the mic, you have this opportunity to do that. And I'm going to move with Dr. Sabrina Bowley. Please step forward to the mic, state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes, and we'll move from there.
Wait, you changed it.
I think she was calling first. Paige Cook?
Oh, my bad, I just changed the paper, my bad. Paige, come on.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Paige Cook.
I live at 4004 Ethan Avenue in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. I'm also a 2026 candidate for County Commissioner of District 3. Recently, as we all know, reports have circulated that the U.S. Department of Homeland Security has purchased a facility in Wilson County that may be used as a detention center operated by ICE. I understand that the local representatives have not been able to confirm the exact details about this, but I do have copies of that email that Mayor Hutto referenced, where Paige Hughes, a spokesperson for ICE since 2018, did confirm with a local reporter that they have every intention of moving forward with a facility in Lebanon, Tennessee. In other communities, facilities like this have become operational within days of local government being notified. This news also comes shortly after the Wilson County Sheriff's Office signed a 287G agreement to cooperate with ICE, which is why so many of us are concerned. If there's even a possibility this facility could open in Wilson County, the public deserves to know what proactive steps are being taken now. What communication has occurred between federal and local offices? What legal authority do we have in this situation, which I know Mayor Hutto spoke to a little bit? What contingency plan is underway to address potential impacts on roads, utilities, emergency services? Because once a facility like this is operational, the effects are no longer theoretical. Increased transportation needs, greater strain on fire, EMS, and healthcare systems, strain on our already struggling infrastructure that is paid for by local taxpayers. Even if the federal government operates the facility, the surrounding community absorbs many of the secondary impacts. Beyond infrastructure, there's also the issue of community identity. Wilson County is a growing, thriving community. Families and businesses choose to come here because of our schools, safety, and quality of life. Decisions like this affect how our community is viewed on a larger stage. It's also important to recognize that multiple local officials have said they're against this. If that truly is the prevailing position among our local leadership, it should be reflected clearly and formally. So tonight I ask two things from the commission. First, to provide transparent, ongoing communication to the public about what is known, what is unknown, and what steps are being taken to prepare for or respond to this situation. Second, that you consider passing a formal resolution stating that Wilson County does not support the placement of an ICE detention facility in our community. While such a resolution may not bind federal action, it sends a unified message about our county's position. Local government exists to represent and protect the interest of its community. Wilson County deserves a seat at the table when decisions like this are made. Thank you for your time.
Dr. Sabrina? We're going to move through this pretty fast. So as soon as one gets through, I'll call the next one, just so we have an opportunity for everybody to speak tonight. So thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you. My name is Dr. Sabrina Boer. I live at 1693 Greenwood Road here in Lebanon. And very quickly, there are a few important things for you guys to know about me. I come to you today as a resident of Wilson County, a lifelong daughter of the state of Tennessee, an educator, an American Indian woman, and also as the co-director of the Tennessee chapter of the American Indian Movement Organization. The last 24 hours have obviously been very confusing, so I hope to come here today to give some insight from an Indigenous perspective that is often not heard in these spaces. I'll start with facts regarding the proposed ICE facility here, the established ICE detention centers, and further ICE presence in our county. What we know is that there are an untold number of cases where people's Fourth Amendment rights have been violated in these facilities. Just as appalling are the conditions in these so-called detention centers. People are being denied their 14th Amendment constitutional rights to due process. They're not being provided with medical care or life-saving medications, and we absolutely cannot ignore the reports of physical and sexual abuse that are occurring at these facilities. Again, speaking as an Indigenous person, what is happening to communities that may have never experienced this type of injustice is not new to us. Indigenous people have been fighting this colonized system of oppression for hundreds of years. We have endured being forcibly removed from our homelands, having our children taken away and sent to hopefully survive the brutality of boarding schools, and have had to fight for our rights to speak our language, to protect our culture and practice our spirituality. The treatment of our people is a darkness in this country's history that continues to this day, and we are seeing this treatment on repeat in immigrant communities around the country. For example, We have documented proof and a go-ahead from the Supreme Court that ICE agents are using the color of a person's skin and the language they are speaking as enough probable cause to arrest people. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
This is the type of organization that we could potentially be inviting into our community, and I don't think that's what we want. And if we can't use history as a guidepost to do better, then perhaps I can frame this in a different way. Leviticus 19:33-34 says, when a foreigner resides among you in your land, do not mistreat them. The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in Egypt. We are coming to a fork in the road in this country where we are collectively going to have to make a choice between doing what is right and what is easy. No matter how small we think our choices are in the grand scheme of things, they do matter. We may not be able to change the world by one decision in this room, but we do have an opportunity right now to change someone's world for the better, which gives me at least a modicum of hope. And with that, I yield.
Thank you, Natalie. Miss Natalie, before you talk, Robert Moxley will be next, if you could be ready. Again, if you would, hold your applause so that we can let everybody speak tonight. And again, there are no decisions being made tonight. When she addressed that and said, hey, so we can have a vote now, there are no decisions being made. This is just you letting your voice be heard. We'd love to hear your voice, but please keep your applause. Do not have that. And then you're addressing the commission, not ask for audience approval of what you're saying, please. Ms. Natalie, take off.
Thank you. My name is Natalie Flores. I live at 1056 Holland Ridge Way here in Lebanon. Good evening, commissioners, mayor. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to respectfully urge you to take a strong, united stance against bringing an ICE detention facility to Wilson County. Recent reporting from the Tennessee Lookout made it clear that U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has plans to open a second immigrant detention center in Tennessee here in Lebanon. The article also made something else clear. The leaders in this room were not meaningfully consulted before this announcement. That should concern all of us, not just the lack of transparency, which I do assume is to minimize potential community outrage until it's too late. And that's concerning enough on its own, but it also is an insult to our community that the federal government does not respect this community or our local leadership enough to involve us in such a significant decision. You as leaders are being asked implicitly to accept broad promises of economic benefit. We're hearing about projections of job growth and positive financial impact, but these claims are vague, they are generalized, and they're not accompanied by detailed local analysis. Economic development should strengthen a community's future. It should align with who we are and what we want to become. A detention facility does not do that. So beyond these uncertain economic projections, there are serious lasting implications. Increased strain on local infrastructure and emergency services, potential impacts on healthcare systems and transportation, the reputational consequences for this growing family-oriented community, and the moral weight of becoming known as a site of immigrant detention. Across the country, existing detention facilities have faced documented reports of inadequate medical care, overcrowding, and prolonged confinement of people without criminal convictions, raising serious humanitarian and accountability concerns. Even if this facility is federally operated, the ripple effects will not be federal, they will be local, and it will belong to us. The article makes clear that this body has not yet had the opportunity to weigh in on this. So what I'm asking for you tonight is to do more than weigh in. I'm asking you to stand, please, together, clearly and publicly, and say that this is not a development we want for our community. Not because of politics, not because of rhetoric, but because Wilson County has built a reputation as a community focused on sustainable growth and quality of life. And we have the responsibility to protect the future that we are intentionally shaping here. If we don't draw that line now, we're not going to get another chance. Thank you.
Robert Moxley. Ed Berry is next. Robert Moxley.
Hello.
Commissioners, Mayor, my name is Robert Moxley. I live at 3190 West Division Street in Hermitage. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran, and I'm currently running for County Commission in District 2. I'm here tonight because I stand fully against an ICE detention facility coming to our county. On January 20th, 2006, the Wilson County Sheriff signed a 287G agreement, which I provided copies for. This agreement agrees that local deputies will be trained and county resources will be spent enforcing immigration. Now we're hearing reports that an ICE detention facility is coming to our community. This is not a responsible use of our county resources. As a veteran, I think a lot about how governments behave under fear and pressure, and how quickly people's rights become optional when a group is labeled a threat. One of the clearest warnings in American history is the imprisonment of Japanese Americans during World War II. Families, mostly US citizens, were detained based on their ancestry. They lost their homes, businesses, and years of their lives, and the damage lasted for generations. It's natural, in my experience, when you read about something like this in school, that you tell yourself, if I was there, I would have stood up. I would have said, not here, not in my community. Well, this is one of those moments. This isn't a chapter in a history book. It's happening in real time, and the human cost will show up in our own community. Whatever your views on immigration policy, I want to be clear about what this agreement does on the ground. When people believe local law enforcement are working hand in hand with ICE, victims and witnesses report less, cooperation drops, and criminals get more freedom to operate. That means every family in Wilson County is less safe, not more. Any one of us could have predicted that this document would have been controversial. The sheriff made this agreement without public knowledge, and it tells the community that our trust and constitutional rights are negotiable. If the sheriff made this decision knowing that a detention facility was coming to Lebanon, then the public deserves answers and accountability. Many of you have claimed ignorance to the press. This document is just one of many reasons why ICE felt that Lebanon was friendly territory, and this has been out since January. This moment will be written down somewhere, whether we like it or not. And I don't want anyone in Wilson County to have to justify this to their grandchildren. So let's choose the side that will be proud to explain. Thank you.
Thank you. Jordan Comos is next. Jordan Comos is next. Jacob Berry, you may start.
Hello, my name is Jacob Berry. I live at 4306 Adelaide Court, Mount Juliet, and I'm running for County Commissioner in District 8. I'm here to state in no uncertain terms that I oppose any plans to build an ICE detention facility in Lebanon on moral grounds, whether it be hypothetical, happening behind closed doors, or out in the open. If this is in the works, I want this body to stand in the way. If the land hasn't been bought yet, I want this body to act to prevent it from happening. I'm also here to ask, how are you going to make sure this doesn't negatively impact our already woefully out-of-date infrastructure? What are you going to do to make sure this doesn't make our wastewater problems worse? What are you going to do to make sure that not a single cent of Wilson County tax dollars are spent on this facility? You may or may not be able to stop DHS from opening a detention facility here in Wilson County, but your constituents deserve your best when it comes to making sure it doesn't negatively impact us in any way that you can control. So with that said, I have 3 asks of this body. Commit to opposing any DHS facility, be it detention centers, offices, or training facilities, from being built in Wilson County. Commit to opposing any spending of Wilson County tax dollars on development of DHS facilities. I'll give you brownie points if you can disincentivize them from doing it altogether by changing zoning or tax ordinances to actually benefit our community. The third is to commit to holding DHS accountable to building the necessary infrastructure so as to not negatively impact our already subpar infrastructure. Again, I'll give you extra credit if you can actually disincentivize them from building new by requiring them to do other work to benefit our county's infrastructure. There are a lot of eyes on Wilson County right now. Take a stand to keep our community safe, or at least make sure our tax dollars are spent responsibly.
Jordan Comos.
I'm Jordan Comos. I live on Everly Lane in Mount Juliet, and I'm proudly on the ballot for County Commission District 13. I'm here today not to debate immigration policy. In fact, I believe historically speaking, ICE has an important mission. I do not know a single person who is against legal deportation of actual criminals who are illegally in our country. There are moral ways to execute this, and to execute this mission with human decency. However, Under Trump's version of ICE, we have seen children removed and used as bait. We've seen agents show up at public schools and daycares. We've seen 40-year productive members of our community removed for a missing taillight. We've seen at least 2 American citizens murdered at the hands of this version of ICE. What I am here for is to encourage this body, each and every one of you, to look in the mirror and decide if you want an ICE detention facility in your community. You who represent the good folks of Wilson County, who display your Wilson County kind yard signs and fly your Wilson County is the place to be flags. And you who sit in church on Sunday praying to a merciful God. Do you want an ICE detention center here? Do you want this here? If the answer is no, say it. Say it loud. Be proud and show up for your community so there is no mystery or confusion that Wilson County kind actually means something.
My name is Jamie Littra. I live at 1505 Dove Drive here in Lebanon, Tennessee. I am also running for County Commission to represent the citizens of District 6. I'd like to start by clearly stating that we know ICE is already here at work in Wilson County. Our leaders have enabled this by signing the 287G agreement. Rutherford and Wilson County have led the way in increased ICE officer arrests from last year. So I've been in communication with Paige Hughes at the Department of Homeland Security Office of Public Affairs, who told me that a facility has not been purchased. That was the end of her statement. If there's any chance that this is a not yet, it is our duty to do something now. In the previous email exchange, she also said that DHS plans in their planning to open these facilities to conduct community impact studies before any proposed detention facilities open. However, there's little clarity about what that study would include, how local governments will participate, or whether those results would become public. So my question is simple. How will Wilson County ensure that we are fully represented and fully informed before the purchase, the lease, the operation of a facility to be used by ICE here? Will the county conduct its own independent fiscal study and analysis and share those results with the citizens that live here? We need answers about potential indirect costs. Could this increase law enforcement overtime? Will our sheriff's department be expected to provide support when we are already facing significant staffing shortages, even with our recent pay increase? What additional wear and tear might heavy traffic place on county roads? What strain will this create for our capacity of sewer systems, water, utility, and infrastructure? For our emergency services in the area, there's also practical concern. If EMS units needed to respond to medical calls at a facility, what happens to the response time for our neighbors? Would additional ambulances and staffing be required, and if so, who bears that cost? These aren't partisan questions, these are governance questions that we will be faced with. So residents and elected officials of Wilson County are obviously being kept in the dark about this potential facility. That cannot be changed, but what happened next can. So I'm asking the commission and our mayor for 3 commitments. 1, that no Wilson County taxpayer dollars be used to subsidize, construct, or operate this facility, whether directly or indirectly. 2nd, that the commission formally engage with this federal official local participation in any impact study done, and that all findings be made public, and that this commission establishes a clear transparency process, including detailed public update page or a town hall before purchase, construction, renovation of any facility, because we deserve nothing less.
Richie McCarter, John Ross, and Charity Tyler. Richie McCarter, John Ross, and then Charity Tyler.
If I could get the full 3 minutes, I'd appreciate it. My name is Richard Mercado. I live at 419 Hollywood Drive, Old Hickory, Tennessee. And I'm actually here for a completely separate topic that I wanted to speak to everyone about with regard to my district and District 1. We recently had some issues with the events after the ice storm, and I wanted to first give my thanks to WEMA and the Road Commission and our Volunteer Network Tennessee. Appreciate all the men and women that have been out there helping out and clearing all of the debris and all the damage that was caused from the ice storm. Specifically, this is going to be about safety concerns regarding some of the debris piles that have been collected outside of some of our neighborhoods and on the right of way. They are causing some line of sight concerns, and it was brought to my attention after some Facebook posts in some HOA groups, things along those lines. I was contacted at that point that when specifically departing out of Linford Farms and Hunter's Crossing, out onto Saundersville Ferry, or out onto Saundersville Road, that the line of sight was blocked for Saundersville, causing some of the drivers to have to go out into in order to make their turns. I researched on who to contact, was unable to find anybody, so at that point I contacted WEMA, spoke to an operator. The operator told me to talk to the road commissions. Ended up calling the road commission. They were only open from Monday through Thursday, 6:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. This was a Friday. This was going to cause some safety concerns throughout the entire weekend, so I went out and moved it myself at Hunter's Crossing. Unfortunately, this last weekend, I got some help from some neighbors in Linford Farms who was able to remove that. I'm just here to speak to the county commission and the mayor and let you guys know that this is a safety concern. And I know that we did have some approval for the road commission to get some additional hours and to help with the removal of debris. I think it would be beneficial to also extend the hours for the safety concern or for the safety hotline so that we have a simpler way to report safety concerns so that we're not having to tie down either calling directly for a commissioner to then have to go through that same thing. We also have the WEMA app, which is a really good app. I think that would be something that would be additionally beneficial to add a reporting feature for safety concerns along this. I really appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
Thank you. And if you can also, if you have places that are blocked, just call my office and we'll make sure we try to get those cleared for you. But they are working out there and they did get approval today to pick up all the debris, which is a good thing. John Ross, Charity Tyler, and then Robin Craig.
I would like to voice my concerns, as many are not here for. After witnessing the events involving ICE around the U.S. and their operations in Nashville and in Wilson County, to hear that an ICE facility is coming to our hometown genuinely terrified me, and I'm sure many in this room and many in the county are feeling these same feelings. And I have some questions. Who does ICE hire? They hire pretty much anyone, but they will find most use in those looking to perpetrate violence without repercussion, willing to work outside of the law to fulfill these fantasies without need to identify themselves to scared victims or bystanders. And I don't want to see this in our streets. And what of the detention centers themselves? Conditions for detainees in these facilities are horrific. Detainees packed in cages, forced to sleep in human waste, denied medical necessities, and at least 9 people this year have died in ICE custody. They are not here to protect us. They're here to terrorize our communities and instill fear in any who oppose them. But this will have an opposite effect. ICE is going to radicalize many in Wilson County if you allow this to continue, because it's harder to ignore state violence when it's happening right outside your window.
Robin Craig, Charity Tyler, Robin Craig, and Andrew Maxwell. Is there a Charity Tyler? Robin Craig is after, and then Andrew Maxwell. If you could please line up, that would help us, please. Thank you. State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Charity Tyler. I've come here from Tullahoma, Tennessee, to speak for those in the smaller haulers of my community that I love and care for. And my community knows that the government has a long history of exploiting the land and people of the volunteer state for their own gain. The proposed building, the ICE concentration camp, detention center, is just a new example of the abuse that the South is expected to take. The government has repeatedly sent our boys into battles with no regard for their welfare if they are lucky enough to come home. The government has cut VA and SNAP benefits with no regard for the veterans who rely on these systems in order to fund camps and agents that terrorize the American people. Even our local governments bulldoze homeless encampments with no regard for the patriots who are driven off to the streets by private companies gentrifying them out of their affordable housing. And now the government wants to use our land to cage immigrants, to imprison our neighbors for a possible civil charge, while refusing to arrest any of the predators listed in the Epstein files. Billionaires assault and murder our children, while the government they fund tries to convince you that your loved ones are the people you should fear. I have heard that building the ICE facility could generate 7,000 jobs for local people. However, do you trust that the federal government will do what is right, or do you know that they will choose the cheaper option? I fear that 7,000 people will build this camp, and then when the job is done, our president will get on the news and brag about getting 7,000 criminals out of Tennessee. In conclusion, the American Revolution was started over the concept of no taxation without representation. It was started over the price of paper and tea and stamps, and we are far past the price of anything. Are you willing to disgrace your ancestors by setting idly by while the government taxes you into starvation while they kill off your neighbors for profit? I'm here to remind everyone that real volunteers do not sit idly by as their country bleeds. Real volunteers love and support their communities. Real volunteers help people. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Robin Craig, and I'm probably one of your newest residents. I just moved here short time ago from Kansas City. 3 weeks ago, I spent 8 days in Minneapolis, and that's why I came here tonight to speak. I just found out an hour before your meeting tonight, and after what I saw and experienced, I didn't feel like I could not speak. I went up there to try to help deliver food to people that were shut in their homes, that couldn't get out and get food for fear of being, they were black and brown people, many of them American citizens, but they couldn't leave their house out of fear. I was turned away at a lot of the places to volunteer because ICE had infiltrated them, and they had to vet their volunteers so closely. I ended up at the Whipple building for part of the time. ICE officers every day, and I'm not a person that would call them names or throw things at them or yell or flip them off. I never did any of that. I didn't want them to have any reason to come after me. Yet every day I was called the B word, the C word, see you next Tuesday. One officer put his finger in my face and said, "I'll get you like good." Look me in the eye, "I'll get you like good." So a federal officer threatened to murder me is essentially how I took that. I believe that's what that was, that threat. These are not professional ICE officers of 10 years ago. The way they acted there to the residents, to us, at the Whipple building every day, dozens of people were let out. They weren't given phone calls. They would walk, I mean, the first 2 days I was there, it was below 0 temperatures. They would walk across a big parking lot and across the street to come to the volunteers and the people that were standing outside there to get food, water, rides home. They oftentimes had no hat, no coat. Sometimes they walked across to us with no shoes on. They just would push them out of the building. "Oh, we're not gonna press charges. Oh, you are an American citizen. I know we've had you here for hours, but push them out the door. No ride, nothing." And we heard the same thing from these people over and over again. They were physically assaulted in there. They were not given adequate food or water or meds. It is exactly what you see on the news, but seeing this face to face in reality, doing the pilgrimage, and it is a pilgrimage to walk from the George Floyd Memorial to the Renee Good Memorial to the Alex Peretti Memorial. To say it broke my heart doesn't begin to cover it. I'm the daughter of a Vietnam combat veteran who fought during the Tet Offensive. He paid the rest of his life in Agent Orange and PTSD. And this is not what my father fought for. It's not what he would stand for. The only good thing about my father not being on this earth for the last year and a half is that he didn't have to see this, because it would have broken his heart. This is not about right or left. This is about right or wrong. We have to choose to do right. Because let me tell you, when they come to your community, these are not like your good officers here. These are not trained professionals with good intentions.
My name is Andrew Maxwell. I live at 707 Capitol Drive here in Lebanon. And I want to thank Commissioner Keith for answering both of my phone calls on the first try. Friends and neighbors, I am here to speak not out of anger, but out of conviction. Conviction that the kind of community we build matters. The proposal to place an ICE detention center in our city is not just about land use, budgets, or income. It's about who we are and who we choose to stand beside. Many of us draw our moral compass from Scripture. Again and again, the Bible calls us to treat the foreigner with dignity and compassion. In Leviticus 19:34, we are told, "The foreigner residing along you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in Egypt." That command is not conditional. It does not say unless they like papers or unless it's inconvenient. It says love them as yourself. But this issue is not only about immigrants, it's also about citizens, our neighbors, who can be harmed when detention systems expand. Investigations have documented more than 170 U.S. citizens were detained by ICE or related agencies in just the first 9 months of 2025. Some held for days without lawyers or family contact. Children who are U.S. citizens have also been caught up in detention operations, including minors with serious medical conditions. These mistakes are not hypothetical. They are the predictable result of large-scale raids and detention quotas that sweep broadly. Even policy analysts note that expanded enforcement has led to documented cases of American citizens being wrongfully detained. When local communities participate in detention systems, they can pay the price, financially and morally. Cities and counties have had to pay settlements after wrongly holding U.S. citizens for ICE, including cases where citizens presented passports or military IDs and were still jailed. In Hebrews 13:2, we are reminded, do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers. Hospitality is not incarceration. It is the virtue, hospitality is not incarceration, is the virtue lifted up. I moved my family here in 2015 in the hopes that we would find our forever home. This city is for the most part peaceful, and in our quiet neighborhood, we help each other when possible. We can choose another path, one that reflects both our civic values, our faith traditions, welcoming the stranger,
Thank you,
predicting
sir.
families, and
Diana Ruby, Jim Newman, Jim Ruby, Diana Ruby.
Hi, I'm Ruby Gadara. I live at 142 Trap Road in Watertown, and I have property on the square in Watertown, Tennessee. I am so moved by everything everyone else just said. I wish that I could have said that, but I'm just going to get down to the brass tacks of the fact that I live here. I love where I live. I try every day to elevate Wilson County in any way I can, and I do so in many ways that I'm not going to even go into. But I am so mortified and was so ashamed and so filled with rage and horror at the very thought that this county, Wilson County, our beautiful county, even our beautiful state of Tennessee, would even contemplate having a true concentration camp in our county and in our community. I looked up the definition of detention center and contrasted it with the definition of concentration camp, and there was very little difference except for the people in concentration camps were kept in deplorable conditions and not treated with any decency whatsoever, which is what we see to be the situation that all of us are very aware of with the detention center. We do not need that in our county, we don't need it in our state, we don't need it in our country. So I just want to say, as a property owner and a proud resident of Wilson County, if this does come to the table, it cannot pass. So whoever it is that votes, vote no. Thank you.
Jim Lumen, Taylor S., and Dominic McAllister. Is there a Jim Lumen? Do not see a Jim Lumen. Do I have one coming? Nope. Taylor X. Taylor. Dominic McAllister. You state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Dominic McAllister, off Tiger Woods Way in Murfreesboro. First of all, we're gonna go a little bit different here. Who do we have that's EMS, firefighters?
Hey, sir,
Yeah.
you have to address the commission, sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Can we get a round of applause though for our heroes? First of all, not very good at this. I'm usually working, taking care of my grandma, that kind of stuff, so I'm not usually in here doing this kind of stuff. For those of you that are in here that are legal and immigrants, I'm gonna thank you for doing your paperwork. It means a lot to me. That being said, nobody likes anyone breaking in their house. Let's just clear that up, okay? So I feel like if people do a little more paperwork to get here, there wouldn't really be as many issues, but since there's a lot of people that don't do the paperwork to get here, we're here now, okay? So I want to be the one to say, all lives matter. America, if you're from here, if you're not from
Sir. If your time is going, sir, please speak. Please speak to the commission, please.
I'm going to continue to say people of both sides should be held accountable. ICE agents and protesters alike.
What?
If you
Hey, please let the guys, hey, please have respect here and let's move through with this, please, go ahead.
Anyways, both sides need to be held accountable. ICE agents who think they're doing themselves need to be held accountable for what they're doing. People impeding investigations and everything else also need to be held accountable. Everyone let you all speak. This is exactly why we have these issues.
Please finish speaking, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Jason Harper, Aaron Moore, Jack Lowry. Jason Harper, Aaron Moore, please state your name and address for the record, please. If you would, please be quiet so we can hear. Excuse me? Yeah, just hang in there, I'll take care of you.
So, in October 2024, the American Immigration Council found, using the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting and Population data from the U.S., my apologies, I'm not very good at this. I'll start over. I'm a taxpayer, I'll take my time. In October 2024, the American Immigration Council found, using the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting and Population data from the U.S. Census Bureau, that undocumented immigrants are 60% less likely to be incarcerated compared to the U.S. born. Additionally, they are 50% less likely to be arrested for violent crimes than those born in the U.S. They go on to say, quote, 19 research reports examining the relationship between immigrants and crime have been published in peer-reviewed journals between 2017 and 2024, analyzing data through 2020. All came to one of just two conclusions: that the proportion of immigrants in an area appeared to have no effect on either the violent or property crime rate in that area, or that increased shares of immigrants were actually associated with lower violent and property crime rates. At the same time, policies that strive to protect immigrants have been associated with lower property and violent crime rates, as well as reductions in specific crimes like domestic homicide, assault, and robbery, unquote. The Guardian reviewed figures from ICE and CBP and discovered that as of February 7th of this year, 43% of ICE detainees had no criminal record. The Cato Institute also reviewed data from ICE and found that from October 1st, 2024 to June 14th, 2025, 65% of bookends had no criminal convictions, and more than 93% were never convicted of any violent offenses. I apologize for my nervousness. I am not the one to do this. According to analysis by the Marshall Project of Immigration and Custom Enforcement, at least 3,800 children under 18, including 20 infants, have been booked since Trump took office. More than 1,300 were held for 20 days or longer, exceeding the benchmark for how long children with families could be detained. Quote, in court documents filed in December 2025 as part of ongoing civil litigation, families described brutal conditions while being detained with their children. Parents said it was difficult to get bottled water to mix with formula for babies, and that the food was contaminated with mold and worms. Children were under so much psychological stress that parents said they were hitting their own faces or wetting themselves despite being potty trained. Many of those people have active immigration proceedings, like asylum cases, and were arrested while trying to comply with the law by showing up at check-ins or court dates. We have all seen countless videos of ICE agents indiscriminately kidnapping, brutalizing, and murdering citizens and non-citizens alike. All while the Trump administration tells us to ignore the evidence of our eyes and ears. ICE agents are also purveyors of cruel and unusual punishment in detention centers. I pay my taxes, I will finish, I'm almost done. I feel much safer with undocumented immigrants than I ever will with ICE agents. They are no welcome in my community. And ICE detention centers will be a stain on this county and a stain on the soul of anyone who doesn't listen to everything they say to stop this harassment.
I just think we need to understand that you are here to talk to the commission about wanting or not wanting a detention facility. All of the other stuff that's happening in our country, we do not like that either. But this meeting is about you talking to them about what your thoughts are. So please be respectful for each other if you can, so we can work through this process tonight and move forward. There is nothing on our agenda tonight that we're voting for, but we're glad to hear your comments. But please be respectful and listen to one another. Aaron, I believe you're next, and then I have a lady over in the corner that, tell me your name, ma'am.
Taylor Eshe.
What's that?
Taylor Eshe.
I got you. You're next. Go ahead, Aaron.
Aaron Moore, and I just wanted to say, I feel this conversation is timely. I understand that it might not be coming right now, but that does not mean that we shouldn't talk about it. I absolutely believe in incarceration and deportation of violent foreign nationals. I support measures of border control to keep the residents of this country safe. We can have those things without endangering and disrupting the lives of U.S. residents. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement has been guilty of assaulting, detaining, and violating the rights of U.S. citizens, migrant workers with valid work visas, and families seeking safety and opportunity through asylum. We do not need or want that level of violence or chaos in our communities. The federal government's already spending an enormous amount of resources to tear families apart and harass functional members of our society. I would much rather that federal, state, and Wilson County resources went to preventing criminal activities through proven methods such as societal programs that lift up our communities together.
Thank you. Taylor?
My name is Taylor Eshe. I had something written, but putting me after Trump's #1 fan back there has made me completely revamp what I was going to say. I've lived in Tennessee for the past 10 years and the South my entire life. Rhetoric like the man two before me about having legal papers has never been something I've had to face until recently. And now I'm having conversations with my mother and my family about what to do if should they get stopped, despite being legal citizens. I have traveled from Nashville to make this request on Lunar New Year Day. On a day I should be celebrating with my family and my community. I'm forced instead to advocate for them instead. My extended family has experienced life at internment camps, and we are seeing history repeat in real time. Legal status alone will not keep us safe. I'm having conversations, and now we are seeing more and more the increase of ICE activity does not just endanger people of color, it endangers all of us. And when they stop coming for us with melanin, they're going to come for you too.
Yes.
We have seen how ICE behaves in cities like Minnesota where children are being held hostage and citizens shot in the street. We've seen how ICE detention centers have no regard for due process, denying congressional members and attorneys access to check on the welfare of the detainees. Tennessee is ranked 31 in healthcare. We're ranked 43 in education. Our crime rate's 42. Our child well-being is 37th in the nation. These seem to be no money to ever cover these kinds of statuses and fix this, and yet we're going to be asked to foot the bill at the tune of $17,000 per detainee for a 44-day detention time. And this is money we do not have as a state, ran by the party of fiscal responsibility, and money we should not spend. The cost of an ICE detention center would be better served pouring this funding into our communities and for our neighbors. Better yet, the cost of a human life cannot be demarcated by the cost by a dollar. Lastly, I will close with this. Today marks the year of the fire horse. This will be a year of disruption and change, and let's make sure our state is on the right side of this by voting no to any ICE detention center. And in the words of my ancestors, Sahe Bagmarik Seo, Eom Shibam.
And then Doug Holland. Honorable Mayor and County Commissioners, my name is Jack Lowry. I'm a lifelong resident of Wilson County, Tennessee. I live on Carthage Highway. I recognize that the officials in this room and the Wilson County, the City of Lebanon mayor, and the other officials in Wilson County and the mayors of those cities have recently been thrust into a situation with little to no information, which I think is important. Based upon the comments that you have made, Mayor, and some of the conversations that I've had, I understand that the county has moved swiftly and done all they could to understand what may or may not be occurring in this county. Like many here tonight, I am certainly opposed to a detention facility in this county. It is a very emotionally charged night, that is clear, and for a lot of reasons I understand, but no one in this county commission that I'm aware of or any other elected official works for ICE. I think you all are doing the best you can with the information that you have. Whether this is valid or not, I do think it offers an opportunity for the county to be thoughtful about how they address it between now and the next meeting. I thought the first, second, and third speaker tonight did a beautiful job of laying out some requests and some thoughtful measures that the county commission could come together and think about as time allows. I think it's unfortunate that you all are vilified at this point simply by being aware of something and trying to understand what is occurring. We have a product here in Wilson County that this commission has worked diligently to make shine. At this time in our growth and our economic development, Wilson County is one of the leading locations. We are a wonderful place to make a home. We are a wonderful place to have a business. We are a wonderful place for a corporate company to come in and have manufacturing facilities, shipping facilities, and find good quality employees who will show up to work. A detention facility in our county would act as a poison pill. I trust that this county commission knows that, and that it will take the appropriate steps within the powers that it has to ensure that the world knows that we are not willing to support a detention facility in this county. Thank you. June 14th, Doug Perotti.